Hey guys, welcome to another video in the interview series. So, I'll be talking about Cisco today and landing a software internship role at Cisco Systems India. So, talking about a software intern role, I'll be going through the process structure, about the online tests, and about the interviews that will be held. Then I'll give an insight to the eligibility to sit for these processes, and then I'll move on to how you could prepare for an online exam that will be conducted by Cisco once you apply for it. Then I'll be talking about the interview questions and what would be covered in an interview, and I'll be talking about the interview experience of my peers, and then I'll be talking about the preparation tips that one can follow to obtain a Cisco intern or a full time. So, talking about the eligibility, we can see that in the CGPA criteria, we could see that for NITs and IITs, there is a CGPA criteria of 7 and above, and it is 8 plus for other colleges like Tier 2 colleges and other private colleges. The eligible streams to apply are usually the circuital branches, CSE, ECE, EEE, and instrumentation. The stipend is 60,000 per month, and accommodation is also provided. The location is usually Noida, Bangalore, or Chennai. Most of the interns are allotted Bangalore, and for the past 3 years, the internships have been virtual as well. The roles offered are software engineer. So even if you're an intern or a full time, you will be having the role as a software engineer. So talking about the process again, the number of rounds vary every year. This particular process is only from the batch of 2020. So please do not take this as the given hard print. So the 2020 batch had three different rounds, actually four different rounds, but let us combine it into three different rounds. The first one is the online test. The online test had one MCQ section, two coding rounds. Then we can club the technical and managerial round into one. We will be elaborating it in the following slides. Then finally we have the HR interview. So the HR interview would be a short interview for 15 minutes. So talking about the online test, the main topics to be focused are DSA concepts. So when I say DSA concepts, it's a very broad term. I know, I understand, but when I say DSA, it's everything under the sun that's in data structures and algorithms. It can be trees, binary trees, linked lists, stacks, queues, whatever they ask, you might have to be very good with it. Coming to interview section, I will be elaborating on what they expect specifically, but online tests you can really never predict what they would ask. Be a little bit sure about the networking concepts, some protocols like HTTP, file transfer protocol. Some of the protocols, please be sure of the basic concepts, and some basic mathematics like permutations and combinations, probability are some of topics you might have to brush up before you appear for the online test. Talking about the interview, there are three rounds for the interview. The first one is the technical interview, second one is the managerial, and the final one is the HR round. So the first and technical interview, you will be focusing on some conceptual questions in C++. Why C++ is because most of the work inside Cisco will be using C++. All the legacy software use C++, so they expect you to know in-depth questions in C++. So they might ask you a lot of conceptual questions, and more than answering the question itself, I would say think out loud. Make sure that you let the interviewer know what is going on in your head, and that will really go a long way in the interview. Next thing would be memory management. Memory management would be covering FIFO depth, cache, pipelining, and such concepts in computer architecture. So brush up your computer architecture before you sit for the technical interview. The next one, C programming, is not that different from conceptual questions in C++, but here I would advise you to go on the basics. like error finding, debugging, and finding the output of the given code snippet and things like that. Next one would be operating systems. Operating systems is a very important topic for Cisco, especially because they expect you to know operating systems and DBMS to a great extent. Since it's a networking company, make sure you go through your networks. Make sure that your networks basics and in-depth knowledge is very high. And also make sure that you do not leave out any protocol, basic protocols, the famous ones. Make sure that you are well versed in all of those. The next round would be the managerial round. The managerial round would be held by your potential manager, who would ask you a few resume questions based on your projects, based on your internships, prior internships and projects that you have done in college. The next one would be like a simple question, related to the domain of work you might be working under if you get selected. For example, I was asked a system design question. So it really depends on the manager and the team's expertise that the manager is working on. Please be sure of all the resume details and all the awards or academic achievements or positions of responsibility. Please be sure that you have not lied on your resume, because that is very important. If you have lied on the resume, they can very easily sniff it off, so make sure that you have not lied on your resume. The next round would be the HR round. The HR round is a very simple round for 15 minutes. The HR round would basically be consisting of a profile preference question. So, what profile do you want to sit for, networks or software development or full stack? Then would come the location preference, and the location that you give might not it's not a hard fast rule that they will give you that location, but you can request for a location. Next, they will be explaining you about the pay structure and whether you are okay with it. Mind you, this is the chance where you can negotiate to get a better pay, or to be okay with what they are offering. Some tips that I would like to personally give you for preparation would be go through your resume very carefully. Like I said earlier, do not lie on your resume. Make sure that you don't really try to bluff and think you can get away with it. And one more thing, they focus more on personal projects. They don't really care about what internship you have done, as long as you have the expertise in the projects that you have mentioned. That is what really matters. The managerial round and the HR round are equally important as the technical round, so do not lie on your resume. I keep reiterating this.